All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith, joined back by my good friend Jim Brown. What's up, Jim?
Not much. How's it going, brother?
Oh, dude, it's going good, man. I'm excited for
Yeah.
today, dude. This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, when we train, when we talk meathead talk, it's always fun.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, dude. Well, and I
Yeah.
know that it's gonna be fun for me. I know that you may not be having so much fun right now.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we're training really hard again. It's full-time work, man. It really beats you up.
Yeah.
It
Well,
does.
I'm excited to talk about it, dude, because I mean, we talk a lot about, training nutrition, but I always love hearing about like what is it that you specifically do. And well, walk us through, because anybody that's watching or listening to this has no idea what we're talking about right now. So right now, you've changed things up. You're going through, kind of like your old training programs. Like walk us through, I guess, what first initiated what you're putting yourself through right now.
Well, as you know, we have a product that we put together called, it's the Advanced Forge Training video course, right? And I was always hesitant to write out a workout program for people just because it's so customizable per person. And I really like to get a feel for them and see what they do and what they like and what their body mechanics are like, and then experiment around a little bit. And then we pick, we have a pool of movements and exercises to pick from that are effective, and then kind of put something together. And so the product that we created, it's like a 3-hour kind of video conference of me, or I guess an exhibition, whatever, of me just laying out everything I have in terms of principles of training, why I do this, all my theories, and kind of how to put together your own program. Well, still, people want a program put together for them, and so against all these years of not doing it, I did. So first one we put together was, it's a 16-week intermediate type of program where I picked kind of the best exercises that I try to choose for people, or I highly recommend, with the variability of changing those out, and kind of put together what 16 weeks of training would look like, and touch on everything, balance and stimulus and recovery, and for, the principles of forge training and training to failure, all that stuff, and kind of put it together, for people. And that launched, having pretty good success with it. More, it's kind of, I don't know, we're making a few sales every day. More and more people are giving me feedback about it. I had one revision already, but yeah, it's taken off really well. People seem to love it, and fit a kind of a niche that they wanted. However, then there's the hardcore guys, that were like, okay, I'm not really at the intermediate level, I'm at the hardcore level. And I always get asked too, what my training was like when I was at the biggest and strongest in my career. And so that's what I'm working on now. And it's a program that I call Monster Maker. And, I had to kind of go back, and to your point, kind of remember exactly what I was doing. I mean, I remembered what the training split was. I remember what exercises I did, but there's some nuances of like, oh, okay, I can't do this twice in a week. Here's why, or this is why I want to do this earlier in the week, and then later, then a different movement later in the week. And so I've been working on that last, I guess, month and a half and 2 months, putting myself through it, and it's just fucking kicking my ass.
Yeah. So you're not
Flat out.
just going in the gym and trying to kind of simulating again. Like you're putting yourself balls to the walls, like through this thing.
Yeah. I mean, even with the intermediate program, I did that for 12 weeks. I kind of worked up, and so I could get an idea what the volume was like, where we started, and exactly what to expect, and as expected, for the movements that I picked out in 16 weeks, I started at a baseline, and I got stronger, and I got bigger, and I got more proficient in those workouts. And if you do that, if you progressively overload and get stronger in workouts, or stronger in particular movements, you put muscle on, right? I mean, I'm a little bit different case, if I don't eat enough, and I'm 52, so I'm almost 52, and so it's harder for me to put on muscle unless I really eat enough, and then my body responds differently than probably somebody who hasn't put it on for the first time would. But that being said, I'm very happy with the program. Made a bunch of adjustments as I went through it, to try to step up and nail the volume just right, and make it challenging enough so that people actually, it wasn't a walk in the park, but it wasn't too difficult that they couldn't do it. And there's some variability in there. That being said, with this one, yeah, especially with this one, I had to kind of go back through and see what was possible, I wouldn't expect everybody to be able to do the volume and handle the adaptation level that I was at when I was, 300 pounds and, just could work out 4 hours a day and not get sore. So kind of make it, humanized so that it's doable. And, that being said, challenging enough too, because this isn't just a 16-week write down workout program. I'm trying to make this something that's going to transform your mind and transform your ability to train at a level that you've never trained before. You're going to get stronger and bigger. Almost, if you follow the program, you have to. Either that or you're going to die and not, just quit. But if you follow the program, you're going to get bigger and stronger. And my hope is that training that way and getting your mind ready and kind of prepared and trained to go through those workouts daily, you're going to come out a little bit different person. And that's what I really want. As I said before, I just hate writing down a program and handing it to somebody. I want something to happen and people not only get a value, but leave that or watch the Forge training videos and leave with more knowledge and, maybe twist it, apply it, kind of make it their own and keep growing or whatever they want to do for their goals.
Yeah. So, because it's not like you weren't training hard before this.
Yeah, there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's what I'm trying to get to is like,
yeah.
what are the, because, when somebody like, dude, you're already this, you already trained so hard, you're already so jacked, but then right. you switch to, what you're doing now. And what'd you say before we hit record button? Like you gain 7 pounds of, or probably more than 7 pounds of muscle because you've gotten leaner.
Yeah, I've lost some body weight.
Of time.
Right. Well, and I'm a skewed experiment, right? I've had a lot of muscle on. I'm probably, I'm 40 pounds of muscle down from my max, and that's muscle that I held a long time. And so, my goal working out now isn't to say, put on size, but it's to kind of maintain and then be able to scuba dive on the weekends and move and work and not be destroyed, based on where I'm at. But for this, I wanted to put myself through it. I had to test the program. I have to test the program. I'm still testing it and, kind of see what was possible. This people have always asked me, well, if you're going to compete again, or if you're going to, if you wanted to get big again, what would that look like? What would it do? And this is it. The only difference then that I'm really leaving out is probably the anabolic side of it. Of course, that's not part of the game plan anymore. But even so, that being said, it's about balancing the stimulus and recovery. And so with it, I'm finding that balance, and I'm right on the edge of being able to handle it. But that, again, that's with eating, I can't miss meals anymore. I'm doing a bunch of cardio on a bike to recover, and while I'm drinking protein drinks and aminos and, every trick that I have. So I'm going to lay all that out for them, for everybody in the program too. But I think that's essential to try to keep up and be able to handle the workout and then recover and do it again, so it's, you're working your whole body twice a week. So it's pretty intense.
Yeah, that's what I was going to be my next follow-up question. And I know that, program's going to be available and people can get into the deep dive granular of this, but
yeah,
just from kind of a high level standpoint, because dude, like, I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, but like the first time I trained with you, I think that I trained decently hard, and then until I trained with you, and then it was like I was having to lift my arm up onto the steer, like I couldn't even move my shoulders for 3 or 4 days, dude. I was just like, oh my god, right? So, for me to sit there and think, okay, like taking that already to that next level, is it intensity per workout, or is it the fact that now you're hitting every muscle group twice a week, combination of both? Like, what are the kind of those core main differences?
Yeah, as I remember what we were doing, I was just showing you different ways to train, the way that you were kind of used to training. And, anytime that I get to do that, I can really, really destroy a person like we did. And it didn't really take, we didn't really lift heavy weights, right? No. It was just a different way to kind of attack each muscle group. This is just basic principle. We're picking out the most effective exercises, and we're training heavier and heavier and heavier, and we're doing it as many times a week as we possibly can. And that's not to say, you're going to do bench press twice in a week. We're going to do a variety of exercises for the chest, kind of a heavier, more intense part first in the week, and then maybe a lighter in the second part of the week to try to balance that out and make it, somewhat recoverable without, having to be on, 100% on your diet and nutrition and sleep and, more humanized for everybody. But yeah, it's really concentrating on getting stronger on the best movements that you can do. And then, this is a challenge too, right? So this isn't just about me writing a workout and you following it and trying to get bigger and stronger. This is a challenge mentally too. So there's going to be stuff in there. There's stuff in there that, I like to train, man. Some days, like the other day I went in the gym and I was like, I'm kind of feeling like a bitch for doing cardio because I don't want to. I'm bitching about it. That inner bitch went off. I was like, okay, motherfucker, we're doing 2 hours. So I did 2 hours cardio before I started lifting. And then the other day, I walk in and I'm like, okay, the pendulum squat is open. I got to go back to it. And I don't know if you've ever done the pendulum squat, but it's one of the most humbling machines. It's a great machine. It's one of the best leg machines out there. But I don't think I've put two 225s on a side. There's two weight posts. I think I've put 225s on each side, and that was very difficult. So this thing humbles you fast. And it's like, oh man, do I really want to do this? And I was like, okay, that's it, dude. So I did 20 sets of it and dry heaved and could barely walk for the next 3 days. But that's what I like to do too. But when you do stuff like that, then you go back in for your next leg workout, those 20 sets or 20 rep sets that turn other people green and, make them quit lifting forever. Those are the ones that, you thrive on. And that's really where the growth happens. And so that's part of this workout too. There's some things in there that I like to do. I don't usually recommend for clients, but just like the FML days that we do, just like that, you would go in and I always used to, that was one of my favorite days. So to kind of explain what that is, we named that was named by a client, actually, the FML day. And that's where you go in with your partner or whoever. You can do it by yourself and say, okay, I'm going to do as many sets of 20 on this leg press until I absolutely quit. My partner quits, one of us pukes, and go for it. And the last time I really had a challenging partner, we did 40 rounds of 20 sets or 20 reps, to the point where you could barely finish the 20th one. And man, it was amazing. But when you do stuff like that, it transforms your mind. So when you go in and you're going to go train to failure for 4 sets, you can do it. And kind of that's what I want to incorporate in this. I want to make somebody to have a really bulletproof mindset when they go in, because you've trained kind of some normal workouts with me, and when you're going to positive failure, you really have to get to that failure, and that's where I really think the growth happens. It's tough, man. It's tough because you have to be honest with yourself. And a lot of times, man, I catch myself about to rack the weight or put the weights up, and I was like, did I just bitch out? Was that really it? No, I bitched out. Yeah. And so it's very difficult to keep yourself honest. And doing exercises like that, where you destroy yourself for a day, it keeps you there. It keeps you on that edge.
Yeah. One of my real estate coaching clients, now he is, I don't, just because I don't follow the powerlifting side heavily, but I don't know like what federation or what, but anyways, like set world records, and he's, just a beast in the powerlifting world, but he's getting older. He's about the same age I am, and he's like, well, so he asked me, he's like, I'm really intrigued in your style of lifting and the higher reps and whatever. But I was telling him, I'm like, dude, when you're training positive failure and you're training this way, and I just gave an example with like like doing biceps. I'm like, you get to a point where you feel like your bicep, because the pump is so intense, like it's going to rip out of your skin before before the strength gives out, and you got like you're pushed through. I'm like, it's a whole different feeling than, just power, power. And in powerlifting, I mean, it's, has other struggles for other reasons, right? But it is like you mentioned, dude, it's like pushing through that burn, it's a challenge, dude.
Yeah. I mean, we've all seen those videos of Tom Platz doing squats, of Tom Platz doing leg extensions. And, the thing that he didn't really tell us back in the 90s when those came out, you could see a VHS tape of it or whatever. He only did that once a month.
Yeah.
Guy only squatted once a month, because, you know, he would destroy himself. And so, you know, I did that all the time. You know, I just thought that's what you had to do. And it's a whole different mindset when you do that. And then you get somebody to work in with you, or you have a new training partner or somebody at the gym. They're so far away from that. You're in a different world. And that's what, you know, not to say that just like regular forge training, when you're training to positive failure, you don't have to be that quite of a savage, but to really get to those sets where you're failing, an honest failure, it takes a little bit of adjustment, man. It really does. And especially, you know, I like to start out with like 18 or 20 sets on the first exercise, first working set. And that is a whole different game for a lot of people. And then when you go back under the bar and you put it up and you only get, you know, 8 or 10 with the same weight, you're like, what just happened? And then, well, you still got 2 more, dude. Yeah. So it is, man. It's a whole different way of training. But really, I don't see how to keep myself honest. I don't see how to keep people honest when you say, oh, just do 12 reps and I want you like at 75% of your max. I mean, that's bullshit. You know, nobody grows there. The growth happens when shit gets really painful and tough.
Yeah, because then this is why, you know, you mentioned this earlier. Hey, when you're a novice and you jump in, yeah, you're going to see results right away. But you've been training for, you know, a decade, 2 decades, and training, you know, consistently and training hard, it gets so much harder to see those results, right? So, because you're always talking about stimulus and recovery, you know, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like, this is just boom, shocking with that stimulus, we're just on essentially forcing growth.
Yeah, I mean, the longer you train and the more muscle you have, you know, it eventually slows down. And the more muscle you have, your body's just, you know, fighting you. Like, dude, this is enough. It's very costly to put on. It's difficult. It's difficult to maintain, and you really have to justify why you're doing it, and constantly justify why you're doing it, and supply your body with enough calories and nutrients and all amino acids all the time to justify it and support it. You know, and it's harder. It's harder. And that's why there's a lot of things like why I carb cycle, you know, the way that I carb cycle throughout the week. And we do it for everybody that comes to me and wants to do whatever. Hey, I want to get shredded. Okay, you know, we're doing chicken and rice, low calorie, low volume, and then we're doing chicken and rice, massive volume, you know, for the carb day, or, you know, meat and rice, whatever. But the body really responds to drastic changes like that. And it's tough, man. It's not easy to do that. It's not easy to eat like that. And those drastic changes from day to day. But that being said too, you know, when you're training and you've been training for a while, like, you know, you and again, I'm different because I've downsized, but, you know, if you're putting on new muscle and you've been training for 10 years, if you put on 3-4 pounds, 5 pounds, in a year, you've done a really good job, man, a really good job. And to do that and go above that, I think you have to really go through some cycles throughout the year, meaning, you know, one of the reasons why bodybuilders are able to get bigger and bigger and bigger, even natural bodybuilders, is because they diet down, right? You diet almost down to death's door. And then that rebound effect that you have is magical. You know, it really is. And it's because your insulin sensitivity is at its all-time high. Your body's just throttled up, ready to drive nutrients, you know. And that's the time that I always grew. You know, I kind of laid out my programs so that I would compete. I would rest, you know, take a little bit of time off before the show, be ready for the show, and then maybe a week off where it was just kind of active recovery. And then that second week after the show, that was when I started training my hardest for the whole year, unless I was really hurt and destroyed or whatever. But still, I would do whatever it took to get recovered, and then start, you know, that next 6, 8, 12 weeks was just magic. And it's those, you know, real drastic changes like that in your body. You know, you have to take it to extremes like that if you want to keep adapting and, you know, getting more and more muscular over the years, I think.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it, dude, because I'm you know, I'm like, I don't know, 5'10" and a half, 5'11" height wise. You know, right now I'm like about 175. I haven't measured my body fat, and I mean, I have like the electric impedance. I don't know how accurate those are, you know, so I don't know exactly what my body fat is, but, you know,
you're lean, dude. You're lean right now.
like if anybody just saw the thumbnail I just did where I talked about my 100-pound
I was
weight
just
loss.
gonna, yeah, dude.
So, and
It's
that's
crazy.
that was just the other morning, like,
Yeah. It's
like in my
Tuesday.
boxers, dude,
Yeah.
like I didn't do any filters. That was
Yep.
just a total raw picture. And, but I'm like, dude, like, again, 175. I'm like, I would love to be like 185.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care about being massively yoked, but I
Yeah.
definitely would love to be about 10 pounds heavier, dude, right? Like muscle wise, right?
We're gonna have to get some rice in you, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch some things up, dude. I've been following the same diet for a long time. I feel good with it.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I mean, I have never really went the full on, just meat and rice and all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
so I mean, I did, I guess, when I competed, but I was like 17 years old, 16, 17.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago, dude.
Yeah.
But then with the training itself, so you're getting everything in twice a week. Are you doing 2-a-days?
No, you certainly could, man. You could. There was a period of time when I did, like, even for years though, I would separate cardio and lifting, so that I got a morning session in on cardio, just the way it worked, and then I would go back at night and lift, or vice versa. But those are the days of me trying to do, at least 90 minutes of cardio a day, and wasn't so much. Depending on what time of year it was for fat loss. But the other times of the year, it was so that I could keep my appetite up and process nutrients, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand. And, I'm doing 50 minutes on the bike now every day. And yeah, I dropped a little bit of body fat, but I'm putting on more muscle because I'm able to process more nutrients. And so, that's something that I talk about in the book too. This idea of, kind of recovery and food processing type cardio. But there's a lot of little tricks in there. And so I'm laying out, all the little nuances, all the little tricks that I have. You can do 2-a-days. I prefer not to, and I know most people aren't able to do it. But I mean, ideally, if you were going to train twice a day, we can get 2 nutrient, windows in where we're kind of pushing nutrients at a higher level, and that's amazing too. But that being said, you don't have to, and I'm not laying it out that way, but you could certainly split it up.
All right. So how long is your average training session right now?
Still pretty quick. We're about an hour 15-ish, hour 20. Okay. Yeah. So it's not crazy long. It's, how fast I can move that dry heaving or, handling it. So it's really based on that. But, you can also rest longer if you have the time. But one of the ways that we're doing this, like for instance, I do chest, back, and shoulders on a day, and I'm not doing just chest or just back and shoulders. We're going, back and forth between them all. And so that allows you a little bit more, you can bust through the movements a little bit faster that way too. I think
you're doing like giant sets, like where it's almost like
no. Arms are supersetted, but everything else, like we're doing, you do a chest movement, finish that off, and then you do a back movement, and so you can kind of keep the pace a little bit higher. And instead of, if I find myself doing like 3 chest movements, by about halfway through the second, I'm starting to have to rest more. By the third, I'm kind of moving a little bit more slower. My weights just drop so much. So that being said, I'm able to go through the workouts a little bit faster, but it's pretty taxing.
Yeah. So then, are you taking any rest days?
Yeah, not completely off, but normally if you do things right, you can take 2 days off a week. If you have to, you're going to push those. I have a break in between, so we're training Monday, Tuesday. We have Wednesday kind of off-ish, and then training Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday off. But Wednesday, I'm going back in and doing cardio. Again, drinking nutrients the whole time, and that's been really good for recovery. And since this is a mind kind of transformation workout too, I'm going to throw in some type of challenge every weekend, or on wherever those 2 days fall off, some type of physical challenge. And that can be, a long cardio session, that could be a ruck session, something like that, 30 minutes of pushing and pulling a sled. I mean, something. I'm in the process of trying that out to see what's possible and not wrecking the whole program. And I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet, but that might just be something, an hour walk, something like that. Something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're doing chest, back, shoulders. Then the next day, I'm assuming that you're doing legs and arms,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then taking a day
One
off
day
and then
for
repeat.
abs. Yep. Yep. And repeat.
Yep. So then 1 day for abs, that's like it's just Saturday or Sunday for you.
I do it on that Wednesday
Okay.
with cardio, because I'm having to go in and stretch too a little bit and kind of move around. There are a few things that I'm working on. I have a slight injury in my lat, so I'm kind of rehabbing that. And then I just got past a pretty significant wrist mobility issue where it just got worse and worse over time. And then I was like, what are we doing here? So I really became obsessed with that and kind of corrected that. So I'll just work on some odds and ends like that, and then hit the abs and cardio on that day.
Okay. And then Saturday, Sunday, you're not doing cardio those days, or are you?
I am, but I have it programmed to be off.
Okay.
But I'm gonna work in some kind of challenge on those days.
Yeah. I feel good when I do cardio daily, dude.
Yeah, man. And it doesn't, for me, just the bike has been great. I'm not really destroying my legs. If I'm on the treadmill, it kind of starts to wear on me. Definitely stair mill ruins some of the leg workouts. I have to take more time off. Bike has been great, and I always use the bike for what I call recovery cardio, and that's where anytime you finish a training session, you're sitting on it for at least 15 minutes and drinking aminos, and it just does something, man. It just does. It helps you process and recover, and I'm just a proponent of it. I think the perfusion and blood supply is still up and into all the muscles you're training and throughout your whole body. And then you're driving amino acids. We put a little bit of carbohydrates in there to stop the conversion to glucose from the aminos, and it just works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just, I'm in a different position than a lot of people, but because I do a lot of sales calls over the phone, and whether that's franchise clients, whatever it is. And those are like usually like hour-long calls. Like, dude, I just like walk laps around my office. Like it's not high intensity cardio, but dude,
no, that counts.
I knock out my 20,000 steps in a day. Easy, dude.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. One of the things that I would almost, I'm going to really highly recommend and almost put as mandatory is, a 10-minute walks after your 3 big meals, because, just from a processing standpoint, it's not for the cardio. It's for you to process the food more efficiently and better. And it does, man. It just does. I don't know what the science is. There's no fucking studies, any of that bullshit, but it works. It just works. And for this type of a program where you're really pushing the edge of stimulus and you're trying to up the recovery, any means necessary, for me to eat 300 and 320 grams of protein in a day from food, not trying not to rely on any powders, it's difficult, man. So it's a job.
Yeah. So then that was going to be my next question, dude.
Back to chicken shakes.
I got one more question on the working out. So then from like you just hitting like 3 exercises per main body part, and then like still your 4 sets. Like so, like each session is essentially
it varies.
Working sets.
Yeah, it varies. It varies on the week. We're definitely stepping up from your first week until your 16 weeks. We're going to step up volume a little bit, and some of that's going to be optional depending on if the person's recovering and what the rest days look like. If we're adding on another movement and it's causing you to take 4 or 5 days off a week, then you got to back off, throw it out. And so some of that'll be worked in there too. But yeah, we're starting out with about 3 per body part twice a week, and then ramping that up just slightly a little bit. Some of that comes from volumes with volume from a few extra reps, and then that could go up with another movement as well.
What about like, and this is probably a stupid question, but what about like shit like traps and forearms? Kind of these like other body parts that you got to fill in. Is that kind of just like
so? I have wrist curls in there. I have wrist curls in there, and hammer curls. So kind of hitting the forearm from the front and back, right? And something that I learned, through this. One of the reasons why I've had good wrists over the years is because I've always done wrist curls, and I truly believe that if you're doing wrist curls on a consistent basis, it helps your arms grow. And so anyway, that's going to be worked into the program. What was the other one you'd asked? and
Like
traps.
traps.
Yeah, so I have a specific trap movement that I have in there for a shrug, but we're doing heavy rack pulls and heavy RDLs twice a week. And you're also doing an upper back movement with a chest supported row. And for me, if I do those properly, I'm hitting my traps as well.
Okay.
So a little indirect work, but mostly it's going to be, indirect with a compound movement like RDL or a rack pull.
Yep.
And if you're doing rack pulls correctly, your traps are sore.
Okay. Yeah.
For sure.
And then, so then now speaking of diet, how is your, I mean, you always, since I've known you, it's always been, chicken and rice.
Pretty
Right?
similar. Yeah.
How's that volume scaled up because of the intensity now?
Well, it's been, I'm definitely back on my carb cycling program. The difference is if I miss meals or if I don't miss the volume for the day, I can feel it right away, immediately. And so it's essential for me to be hitting it. And there's some strategies in there too. I mean, if it's the end of the day and I haven't eaten enough, yeah, I can do a powder. Chicken shake is one of the secret weapons. That's an easy way to get 50 grams of protein down from meat source and not necessarily have to eat it. So there's some stuff like that, but the eating is a full-time job and it's very important, especially when you're pushing the limit like this, with between stimulus and recovery. That being said, I don't hit my totals for the day. I feel it. Training suffered.
Yeah. Cause you just, I mean, you just said a moment ago, 320 grams of protein.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, you're what, 250?
Yeah.
So
that's on the low carb days.
Okay.
Yeah. And then that'll switch up. High carb day goes a little bit lower, lower protein. So we'll switch back and forth. But yeah, day in, day out, it's 200 to mid threes and 315, 320 proteins.
Yeah. So then for me, I guess then that would be about 250 a day.
I send you the spreadsheet, man.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll send you the spreadsheet.
Okay.
So we kind of have the formula worked out. And, I probably guess you're at like 8% body fat, 7%. So we'll put that in. I'll send it over to you and you can kind of see what that looks like. There's going to be low, medium, and a high day in there. And the medium days are the days that you're training. Since I'm trying to cut a little bit of body fat, I don't have the medium days, but it's all lower. And then the high carb day, depending. But that being said too, if I'm beat up and I'm not feeling it, I hit a pretty big dose of carbohydrates intra workout as well.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of tricks in there, man. A lot of tricks.
I'm excited for it, man. I've been, and I'm totally plateaued on my current diet. And I get it, dude. It's like, okay, I do 3 meals a day, and then I do 3 shakes a day, and and it's been good. It served a purpose, but I'm like, okay, it's not.
Well, you're so militant about your diet too, like that. Yeah, I know that you kind of can eat the same thing day in, day out, not care, but your body kind of gets attuned to that, right? And so you're able to get really lean, which is pretty amazing, just without really making a lot of changes. You stuck to that diet. And not being really, I don't think you're really tuned in with the calories. I think you're under consuming probably, and that's why you were able to get so lean. But if you also take into account calories and then try to play with glycogen loads, I think your recovery will be a lot better. And then if you give yourself a little bit of break, and you went back up to like 10, 12% at a max and then went back down, I think that you could find yourself to get even farther than you're at now. Plateaued at even leaner, which would, you could be in, 5-6% range a lot easier than if you try to get to it now. Because the body, again, the body is weird like that. It just doesn't like that long, consistent road if you're trying to get to these, kind of extreme conditions, And I consider hypermasculinity or hypermuscularity an extreme condition. You just can't keep going and going and going and going, and you're just going to keep putting on muscle, man. You have to do these little tricks to kind of trick your body. And like one of those I mentioned before is dieting down and then that rebound effect. So like if you're going to start the new program and you're going to change your diet, eat more calories, and then play with glycogen, I would expect that you're going to explode. Your body's going to respond by you're going to have a real precious window there where you're going to put on some muscle really probably easier and at a faster rate than any other time that you're going to be able to do it.
Yep. Yep.
You know,
Now, how sustainable is this long term? Is this something that you just do to like twice a year for a certain period of time, or is this like, hey man, once we get you going, like as long as your body can handle it, you keep going with it?
well, it really depends, man. I mean, I probably ran it for 9 years consistently, and then, work on in the way. I wanted to then, we came up with the idea, Dante and a bunch of guys from the board, we're all 280, 290, 300 pounds, and guys are dropping dead left and right. And we're like, well, I don't know if I need to be 42, 43, weighing 300 pounds. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to go down to 260. And we started, all of us kind of started cutting body fat. Well, the ones who were alive started cutting body mass out. And so then, I didn't need to train that way anymore. It was more of a maintenance mode. But that being said, yeah, man, if you don't get to the point where you're so strong and big that you start injuring yourself. And, I had kind of gotten to a point where, and not to compare myself with those guys like Dorian Yates and, a lot of Jay Cutlers and those guys, but, no matter where you're at, if you get big enough and strong enough, you're going to get to the point where your muscle bellies just start to tear. And I had definitely gotten to that point. When you're doing pull-ups at 300 pounds with a 150-pound weight strapped to you for reps of 15, something's just going to happen. I don't think that's sustainable, and so I started getting muscle tears, belly tears, and so a few of those started to happen, and that's when I was like, okay, man, I'm not training at this edge anymore. I'm going to go into kind of a little bit more maintenance mode, and then backed off volume in weights and intensity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, yeah, I mean, this outline of this training can be your training, forever if you want. It's difficult, I don't know. You would definitely want to be, it would be something that would be for somebody who wants to keep gaining and getting progressively stronger. Or it could be something that you just run for a while, and then go back to kind of a relaxed or a more maintenance type of workout. Or somebody in your position, you just dieted down, your insulin sensitivity is crazy, your body's crazy nutrients, you're going to process nutrients like never before. Then you run something like this for 16, 20 weeks, you're going to realize all those gains, the best time to grow during the year. And then you're maintaining, refining, whatever, until you want to diet down again, and then kind of repeat the process. And that would be a great strategy too. So there's a lot of different ways to use it or incorporate it, and depending on what your goals are, man.
Yeah. And for me, I used to look at it as a negative, but now I kind of see it as a positive. You may disagree, but like I've never been a super strong guy. Like I was never the guy that could bend, like even when I was pushing, gear and whatever, like I was just, I'm just never a super strong guy, I mean, maybe stronger than your average because I train, but like, and so like, but now that I'm getting older, I'm like, hey man, like my joints always feel good. Like I feel good, but I still whoop my ass in the gym. So
well, and that's there's a difference too. I mean, overall, one of my favorite things when we get on a dive boat or something, and you get to talking to other guys, and you're like, wait, man, how old are you, dude? We're the same age. Wow, there's a big difference here. And one of that, there's a couple things in there. One, I stopped lifting, single digit reps a long time ago, man, long time ago. And I always concentrated on a little bit more volume, starting the workouts at 20, 25 reps to failure, and then subsequently going down as you hit the working sets. But, if I'm hitting 6 or 8, that's pretty rare for me. I'm smoked. That's the last set. And so I think that has a lot to do with joint health. I was never really hitting singles and all that shit. And the guys who do, I know there's some power lifters that are still able to lift in 50 and 60 and all that, but they don't look to, and they're hobbling around like, way stiffer and broken down old men than I am. So overall, I think that for joint health and all that, the way that we train is better for you. Does that mean you're not strong? No, man. I don't see a lot of people putting on 3 plates and on a hammer strength and knocking out 20, 30 reps. I don't. Could I put on 6 plates and do a couple? Well, not now. I mean, I'd probably kill myself, but Yeah, you could, but I don't think that's the best way to gain for muscle mass, and I don't think it's the best way for longevity and your joints. I just don't. That and the way we train too, like with wrist curls or with that, and I like to squat like on the pendulum machine, or if it's a leg press or whatever, we're doing full range of motions. And if that means you're cutting back on weight, you're cutting back on weight.
Yeah.
And that's done a lot. And I think I'd be a lot more broken down and a lot less mobile if I didn't do full range of motion on all that stuff. So I think it's if you train properly, and I think the way we train is properly, higher rev, higher volume, a little bit, depending on who you are, and full range of motion, and it's a little bit more sustainable over the long run.
Yeah. I was telling my buddy, well, I was telling you about the powerlifter guy. I was like, dude, when you train this way, I'm like, especially, because I'm like, you remove all momentum. Like I was, demonstrating like a bench press, like coming down super slow, controlled, pause, and then coming up and then pausing at the top. I'm like, plus these higher reps, I'm like, 135 feels like 225 really fast.
Oh yeah. I
On
mean,
that bar,
Oh yeah, I can make anybody hurt with a certain amount of weight, right? It doesn't have to be heavy. And powerlifting is about moving a bar from point A to point B in the manner that constitutes a successful lift. And that has nothing to do with muscle mass. Muscle mass and hypertrophy comes from stimulating the muscle to kind of, I don't want to say trick, but to getting your body to adapt by building that muscle back bigger. And that has nothing to do with weights. Now, that being said, do you have to continue to progressively overload that? You do, but there's a lot of ways to do that without throwing on, a bunch of weight for 5 reps. There's a bunch of ways to do that.
Yeah.
And, I don't think 5 reps is good for growth anyway. So.
No, at least everything I've read. I mean, like even now, when I hate the word the science anymore, especially after what we just got through, but I mean, it seems to be a pretty much factual, proven thing that hypertrophy happens, in that at least 7, 8 plus rep, to 8 to 30 range.
Well, and I like to tell this story a lot. When I trained back in Arizona, one of the group that came in the morning, same time I did, they were junior Olympic lifters. And the one kid, Chris, he was my same height, about 6'3" he weighed about 190, 185, 190. And he would come in and front squat for 5 plates for 3 reps every other day. But his legs were about 18.5 inches around at the quad. You would never even know he lifted weights, but that's, 3 reps, couple sets, out 3 times a week. That's what he did. Now in those, the specific movements he did, I think he did 3 movements, crazy strong, but he didn't have any muscle. This same guy though, I watched him jump, there's a 4-wheel drive Toyota pickup in the parking lot, and he squatted down, jumped in the back of the pickup truck from the side. Super crazy strong, athletic, low body weight, but that's very specialized. That's super low reps in internalized, but you can lift like that, be crazy strong, and not have any muscle. Really. So there's all kinds of ways. The different training affects different bodies, and you can really see through different sports kind of how people adapt, and if they have a weight class, but they got to be strong, and there's all kinds of ways to do that. But for what we do, longevity, all that, trying to keep some muscle on, I think the way we train is the way to do it. Now, again, this workout program, we're pushing it a little bit, but still it's those same principles, right? We're not doing 2s and 3s and stuff like that, and I wouldn't expect anybody to get hurt doing this, unless you're, like you said, if you're maxed out, and there was certain lifts where I was doing that I did, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this much weight. Something's got to give eventually. When you're doing bent over reverse rows with 4 plates for 15 reps, man, it's scary. And Dorian Yates tore his lat doing 3. So it's crazy. But that being said, you're not gonna. A lot of people aren't. You're not gonna get to that point where I think you're going to have catastrophic muscle belly failure, but anyway, rabbit hole.
Yep. Oh, yeah, dude. I love it, man. So when do you anticipate to have the product done?
So I told the publisher I got 2 more weeks, and they have the last part of June open to work on it. And the idea is, I think it's going to be super cool, man. We're going to lay it out kind of like a graphic novel. So I'm really excited about it.
Damn, hell yeah, man.
Yeah. I think it's going to be super cool.
Yep.
But anyway, we hope it's a success and hope people like it. But I'm excited to get you on it, man.
Yep. No, I'm gonna do it, man. I'm ready, man.
All right. You
And
might have to go to a
I
gym.
like the mental challenge, dude. For me, it's that's all part of it, right?
Yeah.
I love that. And it's weird, but I have so many correlations to business.
Right.
When I'm thinking, like, it's like when I'm working out and I start finding myself wanting to stop or do this, then I again correlate that to business and push. And
Yeah.
I love that shit, man.
Oh, I mean, today, shit, am I gonna make that extra call? Man, it's been a waste of time. Yeah, I'm 2 miles away. What am I doing? Why am I even have this discussion? Go, amazing call, nailed it. Got, accomplished exactly what I was after doing. Got some information that I couldn't have gotten any way else. And I'm like, that's it, man. And I used to be that way. Of course, I have to do a lot of cold calling now, but back at kind of my first real company, I'd get to the point where, kind of maintaining farming, and then I'd go in to do a cold call. And I'm like, wait, why am I? It's like that inner bitch chirps up. So you're like, okay, for the next 3 days, I'm doing nothing but cold calling. And you kind of get that back. And it's the same thing, right? We do the same thing I just talked about, same thing in the weight room. So I get exactly what you're saying, man. And I think that's how you maintain the edge, right? That's how you maintain a level of, whatever you're at, assassin, killer, proficiency, whatever you want to call it. But I think that's what you do. You got to be honest about it and then challenge yourself in that area.
Yep. Oh yeah, man. Well, this has been epic, brother. Truly appreciate it, as always, you taking time to be here with us, man. This has been exciting, dude. We'll definitely have to.
Yeah, man.
The book is ready to rock and roll. We'll definitely do another podcast talking about it. Have links for everybody.
Cool, man. Yeah, I think I'm excited to see what you do with it, especially with the diet changes and then the different way to train. I think you're going to be really surprised, man. I mean, I have an idea what's going to happen, but I'm excited. I think you're going to be super, super pumped.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. But, I can't wait.
Yeah. Right on, man.
Well, right on. And those watching and listening, as always, we truly appreciate you guys. Truly appreciate your support. Keep crushing it, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.
Thanks.